Welcome into Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan Lugo. Thank you so much for tuning in here on Thursday, September 28th. Yesterday, took a little bit of a pessimistic view for y'all that are angry out there about the Jacksonville Jaguars. Talked to you about why you do have some reasons for pessimism, for anger, after a 1-2 start to the 2023 season, a season in which the Jaguars are expected to win the AFC South, expected to have home field advantage early in the playoffs, and expected to show out on the offensive side of the ball. There's definitely some reasons for negativity, for pessimism. But today, I'm going to provide more of an optimistic view on the Jacksonville Jaguars, okay? And I fall more in the optimistic side of things because it has only been 3 games. And 2 bad games does not a season make. So we're going to get into why I am optimistic about the Jaguars moving forward in 2023. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. If you enjoy the content here, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. You can also check out genjag.com/shop and pick up some new Duval gear. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. All right, so reason number 1. I've got 5 reasons why you should be optimistic about the Jaguars moving forward in 2023 and beyond. Reason number 1, Trevor Lawrence. Ever heard of him? He has not been the reason for the offensive lack of success so far in 2023. Trevor Lawrence has been the engine driving the offense, and he's been the primary reason that they've put up any points. You've seen a lot of things falling apart around Trevor Lawrence in this offense. You've seen some inconsistent offensive line play, the team leading the league in drops right now, Calvin Ridley leading the league in drops individually, but Trevor Lawrence has still been playing really, really good football. Not only has he been efficient, but he has been pushing the ball down the field when the opportunity strikes. He leads the NFL in big-time throws, 20-plus yards or more down the field. He is second in the NFL in big-time throws. He is not putting out a lot of turnover-worthy plays on his end. And for me, he's just playing damn good football. You've got to have some things fall into place around him, especially when you talk about the receivers. We're going to get to the receivers here. But Trevor Lawrence is playing great football. He is in year 3. He is playing very good football for your Jacksonville Jaguars. And despite things not going well around him so far through 3 games, really 2 really poor performances on offense, he's been damn good. He has not been doing too much. He has not been trying to play too much hero ball, in my opinion. He's been steady as he goes for the most part. And I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be one of the primary reasons that this offense does get out of the funk that they're currently in. I have all the belief in the world in Trevor Lawrence, his ability to lead this team and lead this offense. And so I think that's one reason that you should be very optimistic about the future of the Jaguars in 2023 and beyond. Quarterback is the foundation of a football team. Quarterback is the most important position in sports. I don't care what anybody says. It's the hardest position. It's the most important position. And the Jaguars have it right in Trevor Lawrence. Even though the numbers, box score numbers, might not be out of this world so far for Trevor Lawrence, if you just watch that man play football down to down, play to play, game to game, he's playing really damn well for the Jags. And I think the Jags fans should be absolutely fired up that they have Trevor Lawrence and that he has head coach Doug Peterson, because Doug Peterson is my second reason for optimism. When you have the quarterback and the head coach, you have the 2 most important ingredients you can have in the NFL, and the Jaguars have both of them. Doug Peterson, let's not forget, okay, last year, 5 games in, 6 games in, 7 games in, 8 games, Jaguars fans were pissed at Doug Peterson. They did not like what he was bringing to the table. They also didn't like what Trevor Lawrence was bringing to the table. People were calling him a bust. These 2 guys know what they're doing. I talked about Trevor Lawrence. Doug Peterson, he's the head coach that brought Jacksonville back to the playoffs for the first time since 2017 in his first year with the team. He's the coach that brought the Philadelphia Eagles their first Super Bowl championship ever. He's a coach that has had 4 winning seasons in 5 years as a head coach. I think he's going to do that again in 2023. I think he's going to get the Jaguars back on the right track. Doug Peterson is a great offensive mastermind. He's a great leader. He's a great teacher. There are so many different things that Doug Peterson brings to the table as a head coach. And for folks to doubt him because of 2 poor performances, I think is a little bit outrageous. I really do. And so for me, I think Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence are going to be catalysts for turning this thing around. I think you're going to start seeing that very soon. And I think that when, again, head coach and quarterback combination, most important thing you can have in the NFL. The Jaguars have it. They also have a ton of offensive weapons. Travis Etienne playing extremely well so far. Calvin Ridley has been a little disappointing, as we've mentioned. He's made some fantastic plays for the Jaguars offense, but few too many drops. He's had a couple pre-snap penalties against the Houston Texans. Very disappointing. But Calvin Ridley's going to get it right, and he's going up against his former team this week in London. You think that's a motivating factor for him? He's trying to downplay it a little bit, but yeah, it absolutely is. It is a huge game for him. I think Calvin Ridley is still him. I think he is still a top 10 receiver in this league. You've seen the flashes so far. Now you need to see the consistency. I believe he will bring it to the table. I really do. Calvin Ridley is too talented, too hardworking, too much of a baller to not get this going back in the right direction. I absolutely think he will. But beyond Calvin Ridley, you have Christian Kirk, who is a very good slot receiver in this league. You have Evan Ingram, who is a mismatch nightmare at tight end. Move tight end, right? Okay, Zay Jones will be coming back at some point, probably not this week, but he is a useful third receiver that can create a lot of separation. You've got the talent around Trevor Lawrence to get the job done on the offensive side of the ball. And the offensive line is okay, right? It's not great. It's okay, though. It is good enough for you to have a functional offense. Like, the offensive line has not been the reason the Jaguars did not have a functional offense week 2 and week 3, right? Yeah, they had a tough time with Chris Jones, no doubt about it. But you still had opportunities offensively to win that game, despite some struggles from the offensive line. Same thing in Houston. If you didn't have all these drops, all these penalties, the offense is still putting up points with this offensive line, bottom line. So I don't want the offensive line to be too much of an excuse here because, yes, it's not great, but it's good enough from a down-to-down perspective. It's good enough for you to run a functional Doug Peterson offense. I really do believe that. And I think it'll improve. I think they'll continue to kind of get rid of some of the issues that they've had, some of the hiccups they've had early on in the season. I think when Cam Robinson comes back, that gives you a chance to have a better starting five. I really do. But the offensive weapons for the Jaguars, there's not a lot of teams with more explosive offensive weapons than what the Jaguars have around Trevor Lawrence right now. I think they will also be a catalyst for this turnaround on offense. And look, the defense has been really solid outside of a couple busted coverages against Houston where it literally was just a miscommunication, missed assignment. You had Rayshon Jenkins and Andre Sisco not knowing which safety should be back. Both of them were in the box. Play action deep shot with max protection. Yeah, that's going to be a problem. Then you have Darius Williams not following his man down the field. Got a little hung up. Wasn't anything to do with their physical ability. It was just mental miscommunication. And you haven't seen that a lot so far from the Jaguars defense. They are in year 2 of this Mike Caldwell system, So I don't think you're going to be sitting here looking at the Jaguars defense saying, well, gosh, they just always have these coverage busts. I think that was more of a one-off. I really do. I think that it was a bad day overall, a day they're going to try to wipe out of their memory, no doubt about it. Offense, defense, and special teams. I think it was a one-off type of game. You look at their first 2 contests, the defense played extremely well. The offense shot themselves in the foot a few too many times, not catching balls that they normally would. And my 5th reason for optimism, special teams. This is a good special teams unit led by a very good special teams coordinator, and I think they will turn it around. You're not going to have Brandon McManus missing a kick and getting a blocked field goal in most games, right? You're not going to have a fullback returning a kickoff for a touchdown. You're not going to have it, okay? This is a good special teams unit. There's a lot of good core special teamers. They will get it going back in the right direction. I absolutely do believe that for the Jacksonville Jaguars. There's just too much talent, special teams talent, from your main specialists, McManus, Cook, Agnew, and then all your core special teams guys. There's a lot of guys on this roster that are very good special teams players in kick coverage and punt coverage, and I think they'll get it flipped. I really do. I think Heath Farwell is too good of a special teams coach to not get it going back in the right direction. So that's my reasons for optimism, right? You have your quarterback, you have your head coach, you have all the offensive weapons you need. You have a defense that has been stout against the run, a defense that has been pretty good in all aspects so far, outside of the fact that they had a couple of coverage busts against the Texans. And you have a really good special teams unit that had just a really bad day against the Texans. That's how I view this football team. I think it's still a good team. It's a team that has to get out of its own way, right? I've been all sunshine and rainbows this episode for the most part, but the fact of the matter does remain that the Jaguars, they've got to get back to themselves. So far, the last 2 games, they have not been the Jacksonville Jaguars that we all know and love. They've been a team that looks like they're pressing, a team that looks like they're a little stiff. They've got to get it figured out quick. Otherwise, it's going to be too late. You can't rely on being able to come back from 3-7 every year. You just can't. You can't do that every year. Bottom line. But I do think these Jaguars at 1-2 are going to get it turned around, and I think that they're going to win the AFC South. And we're going to look back at it and be like, gosh, what the hell happened those 2 weeks? And look, you're playing the Kansas City Chiefs in week 2. Nobody's going to blame you for not being able to beat the Chiefs, right? And the Texans, yeah, you should have won that football game. But you didn't. You came out, you had a stinker, bounce back from it. I think that's what the Jaguars will do this weekend. We will preview Falcons and Jaguars tomorrow, but really appreciate y'all tuning in. Again, just wanted to give both sides of the coin, pessimistic view and an optimistic view of the Jacksonville Jaguars moving forward in 2023. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. Hit me up on Twitter at Jordan DeLugo. You can follow Generation Jaguar at Generation Jag. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. You can also check out genjag.com/shop and pick up some new Duval gear. Again, I really appreciate y'all. Have a good one.